Today I'll go over 5 editing tips to get people addicted to your videos. Each rule outlines a specific issue I see amateurs make all over YouTube. Throughout my years editing and gaining millions of views, I've noticed that the bar for content has been getting significantly higher. So it's important to keep these tips in mind so you don't fall behind. And every single tip mentioned in this video builds off one another. So understanding every single rule will get you one step closer to going viral. Starting with tip number 1, which is music swaps. Music swap means changing your background music whenever the mood shifts in your scene to emphasize that change is happening. An example of this may be an intense scene. I'm running. See how the tone changes? This music switch is what many big creators like Ryan Trahan and Mr. Beast do because it creates engagement and ups that sweet retention graph. A way you can implement this is to select music based on how you want the viewer to feel, which means figuring out the goal of the scene. If you want to have a cinematic scene, then use orchestral music. And if you want a positive tone, then add some upbeat music. Music switches are perfect to create engagement and keep your audience hooked. That's why I do them. Yes, sir. And if you want to learn more ways to keep your audience engaged, then I'll give you access to my template that has generated millions of views for free. More on how to get that later. So having correct music keeps the audience engaged. But that's only half the battle. You still need to improve your footage. That's where tip number 2 comes in. Consistently positioning your video. Having your subject consistently in the same position makes edits appear smooth and lets the viewer watch comfortably. And if you don't, it could fatigue your viewers' eyes and they just might click off. So how do we fix this? We can use the graph line in Adobe Premiere Pro to create a point of focus and have your subject appear around the same area within each cut. Your subject could be a person or thing, so keeping this aligned will help your viewers stay longer. So positioning your clips and adding music swaps are important for retention, but none of these tips matter unless we give proper context to our videos. Which brings us to tip number 3. Show rather than tell. Viewers are constantly seeking the next hit of dopamine, so what better way to stimulate your audience than to show what we're talking about rather than just telling them. To better paint the picture, let's break down a video I did for a past client. So in this video, we're gonna be trying Cherry Prime. I know this isn't Cherry Prime, but just imagine for a second it is. In this video, we're gonna be trying Cherry Prime. But rather than just telling people we're gonna try the Prime, we actually begin to show footage and images to stimulate the audience. Adding B-roll, images, and text is a great way to give your audience that feel-good energy, so they'll stick around. And another tip that can give your audience that feel-good energy, and perhaps the most important tip on this list, is to use transitions. But not just any transition, cutting transitions. In film, transitions are used to take us from scene A to scene B quickly and without being too distracting. And often, many of your favorite YouTubers like Mr. Beast and Ryan Trahan don't use wacky transitions and weird preset packs. They use cutting techniques. An example of a cutting transition is a J-cut, where audio from scene B is used to transition us from our current scene to the next scene. Kind of like this, how the audio from scene B is used to transition. Now you know. Now there are many different types of cuts. There's J cuts, L cuts, match cuts, but one of my favorite cuts is the smash cut because it's a quiet scene that suddenly jumps to another scene with a lot of movement. Kind of like this, for example.
That's for me.
You literally haven't even moved.
A couple steps.
We'll see if it pans out.
Green light. Yellow.
Did you notice how this transition took us back to the action? This cut is what Mr. Beast likes to do because it enhances the dramatic effect of the next scene. You have to realize that transitions at the end of the day should not distract our viewers from our videos. Hope that makes sense. Now, since we learned about cuts and music swaps, we can take your audio to the next level, which brings us to tip number 5, which is adding reverb to your audio. You can add a reverb effect to your audio to help add variety and spice up your videos. You can first begin by going to the audio track mixer and selecting which track you want to add the reverb to. In this case, let's just do track 1. You can start by clicking this arrow and go into add a reverb, and then click studio reverb. And then you adjust your decay to 10,000 and your wet to 80%. And bam, video now has reverb. This is a great way to end the music track in your video or to transition to your next scene, like this for example.